So let's get to the heart of the matter and talk about the requirements for your dealer's license. You will need a physical location for the business that meets the premises requirements, which we will discuss in more detail momentarily. Obviously, you'll have to submit a completed application with all the attachments, which will include evidence of a $50,000 surety bond. And a valid 2-year lease or proof of ownership is required for your business location. If the property owner is not your landlord, you will also need to provide a signed and notarized statement from the property owner, which includes the property owner's full name, email address, mailing address, and phone number, and a statement from the property owner confirming that you are authorized by the property owner to sublease the location and may operate a vehicle sales business from the business location. Background check. All applicants will be reviewed for criminal history and previous disciplinary action. We will discuss this in more detail at the end of this section. You will need to provide all outstanding or unpaid debts, judgments, or liens, unless the debt was discharged in a bankruptcy. As promised, let's get into the premises requirements for the state. Keep in mind that you may not sell, or offer to sell, vehicles from anywhere other than your licensed location. That is known as curbstoning. Selling vehicles with no license at all is also referred to as curbstoning, by the way. The requirements we're about to go into will apply to independent motor vehicle, independent motorcycle, travel trailer, and utility trailer dealers. If you have a consignment location and you are going to retail vehicles to the public, you must have a GDN unless the consignment location is a wholesale motor vehicle auction. Here's a link that will provide you all of the information found in the admin rules regarding premises requirements. Keep in mind, all the premises requirements we are about to review must be met at the time the application is submitted. At any point during the process, Text DMV can request a site visit, and failure to have all requirements in place could result in denial of the application. One last note on curbstoning. You don't want to do it. If you do, you may have to pay civil penalty fees, or worse, you may have your license revoked. A retail dealer must be open at least 4 days per week, and they must be open at least 4 consecutive hours on those days. You may not be open solely by appointment. There are no further hours requirements other than the blue law, which we'll get into a little bit later. So if it's your business model to be open from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the state does not object. The hours that you're open must be posted at the main entrance to your building, accessible to the public. Hours of operation must be shown for all 7 days of the week, so you cannot have a sign that just has Monday through Saturday listed. If you have a gate around the outside of your lot, then be sure to post the hours there so people will know your hours when they are trying to access your building after hours. Now, you must have either an owner or a bona fide employee present during those business hours to buy, sell, or exchange vehicles. But the question comes up, if it's a 1 or 2 person show and no one is available because they have to go to the auction or somewhere else, what do we do? If an owner or employee is not available during business hours, then a "Be Back" sign must be posted indicating the time and date of the return. The Texas Blue Law is in effect. That means you can be open on Saturday or Sunday, but not on both consecutively. The Blue Law only applies to self-propelled vehicles. Towable travel trailers, utility, and semi-trailer sales are accepted. Regardless of your business hours, your business phone must be answered by an employee, answering service, or voicemail from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays. You can use a mobile phone, but the requirements are the same. Your office is required to be equipped with a desk, 2 chairs, internet access, and a phone. The phone can be a landline or mobile and needs to be listed in the dealership's business name. Important note: if there is more than one dealer licensed at a location, then each dealer must meet all premise requirements separately. In other words, 2 dealers cannot share the same office space, desk, chairs, or phone. The state has some specific ideas when it comes to your business sign. you must display a conspicuous permanent sign with at least 6-inch high letters. It must be permanently mounted, made of weather-resistant material, and be easily visible to the public within 100 feet of the main entrance to your business office. You may have a temporary sign in order to open your store, if you're able to prove a permanent sign is on order and will be there shortly. Your office structure must be in a building with a permanent roof and connecting exterior walls on all sides, and like any business, must comply with local zoning and deed restrictions. The office may not be in any room or building that is not open to the public. Your office must include at least 100 square feet of interior floor space, not including hallways, closets, or restrooms, and must have a minimum of a 7-foot-high ceiling. Due to the sensitive nature of information discussed during dealer transactions, your office must also have a door that closes to allow you and your customers to conduct business in private while seated. It also may not be a portable type office, unless it meets the requirements above and is not readily movable. The business address must be recognized by the U.S. Postal Service or capable of receiving U.S. mail. Also, be aware that Tex DMV will not mail metal dealer's plates to an out-of-state address. It should go without saying, but your office must be located in Texas. Like we mentioned before, all sales must be conducted from this licensed business location. Like any business, you must comply with local zoning, municipal codes, and deed restrictions, and have the authority to open a dealership in the location you are looking to lease or buy. Contact your city for a certificate of occupancy prior to getting your license. If you are informed that your proposed business location is in an unincorporated area, then you will need to contact the county to ask what occupancy or permit requirements are required for your proposed location. You're not allowed to locate your office structure within a residence, an apartment, hotel, motel, or rooming house. What if I have a separate entrance for my business, or I reside on a separate floor? Don't do it. That is still considered a residence. In addition, your office cannot be virtual or provided through a subscription for office space or office services. Access to an office space through these types of cooperative locations is not considered an established or permanent business location. You may share a lot with other dealers, but you may not have more than 4 retail dealers located in the same business structure and only 8 wholesale dealers per structure. Wholesale and retail dealers may not be located within the same building. If the building has multiple suites but still shares a roofline, it's considered a single structure. Now, if you own a dealership and another business and they're operating under the same name, for example, Joe's Enterprises, then the same phone number may be used. But if the business is operated under different names, for example, Joe's Used Cars and Joe's Antiques, then separate phone listings and separate signs are required. Regarding the sharing of space, you can share space with a non-dealer only if you own the property yourself, or if you have a separate lease in the name of the dealer business signed by you and the owner. The dealer has to have a separate business sign, phone number, and office equipment, as we discussed earlier. The dealer's office must also have permanent interior walls on all sides and cannot be located in a public area used by both businesses, for example, a lobby or waiting area. Your office can only be housed in the same location as a restaurant, gas station, or convenience store if you have a separate office entrance that does not require your customers to pass through the other business. So, could you open the dealership out of your uncle's bait and tackle shop? In theory, yes, you could, and many dealerships share space with other small businesses in Texas. However, you would still have to meet the requirements described earlier. Keep in mind, a retail dealer and lessor or lease facilitator may not operate out of the same business structure unless they share the same owner. If you do share space with another business, including another dealer, then your inventory must be separated and must also be separate from any parking areas. Think of this as the reasonable person test. If a reasonable person approached your premises, would he be able to clearly see what vehicles are for sale and by whom? A retail dealer must have a display area designated for the dealer's inventory. The display area must be located at the dealer's business address or contiguous with that address. Contiguous meaning connected with. Let's talk for just a second about a storage lot. A non-contiguous storage lot is permissible, but only if there's no public access and no sales activity occurs at the storage lot. You are permitted to have a sign stating the dealership name, the phone number, and the fact that it is a storage lot. Now, your display area has to be large enough for you to fit at least 5 vehicles of the type you're licensed to sell. These spaces have to be reserved just for your inventory and cannot be used for customer parking, employee parking, or general storage. If you share space with another business, a public parking area, a driveway into the office, or another dealer's display area, you must separate your inventory with a physical barrier that cannot be easily moved, except for an area that allows easy entry and exit from the inventory. If someone from the state stops to visit, they will need to be able to easily identify all the vehicles you have for sale on your lot. In addition, if your business location includes gasoline pumps or charging stations, the display area cannot be located within or interfere with access to or from the gasoline pumps, fuel tanks, charging stations, or fire prevention equipment for safety purposes. If your lot is open after sundown, then it must be adequately illuminated. According to the administrative rules, a display area may not be on a public easement, right-of-way, or a driveway unless the governing body having any jurisdiction of that easement, right-of-way, or driveway expressly consents in writing to use it. Translation: don't park on the easement. If the easement, right-of-way, or driveway is part of the state highway system, use as a display area may only be authorized by a lease agreement. Translation: generally speaking, you can't park on the easement. You may also have your display area inside of a building.